This mini lecture is designed to teach you about scale and experience curves. But first, let's start with some definitions. When we say scale, we really mean your size, or in other words, how many units you produce or sell during a time period. This could be a measure of your market share or your current volume sold in a given year. So, a scale curve is a chart that plots how your cost of production changes with your volume of production. When we say experience, we really mean your cumulative volume over time. Or in other words, how many units you've produced and sold in all of your history as a company. This is your total experience producing and selling a certain product or service. Thus, as we shall see, an experience curve is a chart that plots how your cost of production changes with the total amount of experience you have producing that product or service. Now, having defined scale and experience, let's take a moment to put this mini lecture into context. Cost advantage is one of the two generic strategies that firms use to offer unique value. One of the ways that companies can achieve a cost advantage is by growing volume faster than the competition. Greater volume allows firms to spread fixed costs and learn better ways of production, and this lowers average cost per unit. This relationship can be seen in a graph that plots how cost per unit changes with increases in volume. This graph represents what we would call a scale curve. This is nice as a theoretical chart, but the fact of the matter is strategists want to know the relationship between volume and cost in their specific business for specific products or services. Does greater volume in my business result in drastically lower cost per unit? Or does cost per unit only drop by a small fraction with increases in volume? The only way to answer that question is to create a scale curve for your business. A scale curve is expressed as a percentage, sometimes referred to as a slope, which indicates the extent to which costs decrease with each doubling of volume. So a curve slope of 90% means that costs are 90% of what they were before the doubling of volume. Or in other words, costs have dropped by 10% with a doubling of volume. Similarly, a curve slope of 80% means costs have dropped by 20% with a doubling of volume. First, a scale curve is derived by plotting the volume of production in a given year and the cost per unit in that same year. By plotting multiple years of data with different volumes and cost per unit, it's possible to see how cost per unit changes with volume. The scale curve is the best fit regression line through these years of data points. An experience curve is similar to the scale curve, but changes the x-axis from volume in a given year to cumulative volume in a given year. Cumulative volume is measured as the total number of units produced in all prior years. An experience curve is preferred to a scale curve when trying to determine whether learning over time is an important determinant of cost per unit. Although scale and experience curves seem best suited for manufacturing businesses, they can also be done for service businesses. Rather than calculate a cost per unit produced at different unit volumes, you calculate a cost per customer served at different volumes. For example, let's imagine that you work for a wireless phone carrier like AT&T that is trying to decide how much money it should invest in marketing and advertising in order to grow its number of subscribers. Calculating a scale curve will help you determine the extent to which increases in the number of subscribers results in corresponding decreases in the cost per subscriber. The faster that cost per subscriber drop with increases in the number of subscribers, the more money the company can afford to spend to acquire new subscribers. To calculate a scale curve for AT&T, you need the following data: cost per unit, or in this case cost per subscriber, at different levels of company volume. You can determine the cost per subscriber with the following formula: company's costs in year X divided by the number of subscribers in year X. For example, here are data for AT&T's total costs, number of subscribers, and average cost per subscriber over 7 years. If we plot these data on a scale curve as shown in this graph, the analysis shows that the slope is 83%, which means that the costs per subscriber drop by 17% with each doubling of the number of subscribers. So it seems clear that there are some significant cost benefits to increasing the total subscriber base. But are there also benefits to having more experience in this industry? Using the same wireless data as before, we will create a new column that shows the cumulative subscribers at the end of each year. This is done by taking each year's number of subscribers and adding to it the number of subscribers for the prior years. We then plot the data exactly the way we did before when calculating the scale curve. Using these data, we see that as the cumulative number of subscribers doubles, the cost per unit decreases by roughly 9%. This shows that scale is more important than experience or learning in the wireless industry. In other words, a new entrant in wireless could more quickly and easily achieve the cost per subscriber achieved by incumbents like AT&T and Verizon if it could quickly build scale and subscribers. Since scale may be easier to achieve in the short term than experience, this suggests that a new entrant in this market could be competitive quickly if it were able to achieve sufficient scale. In situations where experience has a stronger effect than scale, however, it may be much harder to enter and be competitive quickly. The bottom line here is that understanding how your costs change with changes in scale and experience can be helpful for making a variety of strategic decisions in your company.